Hey there. So you're thinking about sourcing notebooks for your retail business.
Smart move.
It's a pretty hot market,
It is.
but it's also super competitive, you know? Like, how do you get those notebooks to actually fly off the shelves?
Right.
Well, that's what we're diving into today.
Okay, cool.
We're looking at this article, what every retailer needs to know about sourcing notebooks in a competitive market.
Okay.
It's by Leo Shia. And what's so cool is he's not just a retailer, he's also a notebook manufacturer.
Oh, wow.
So he's got like both sides of the coin.
Interesting.
One of the things that really jumped out at me, it says that 67% of consumers are actually willing to pay more for higher quality,
Yeah.
which makes me wonder, you know, if you go for the cheapest option, are you actually shooting yourself in the foot?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because, sometimes retailers can be tempted by those really low prices from suppliers.
Right.
But then what happens when the notebooks start falling apart?
Yeah.
You get unhappy customers, complaints, returns.
Yeah.
And that can really damage your brand.
For sure.
Leo Shia actually saw this happen firsthand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with some retailers he worked with.
Wow.
They thought they were getting this amazing deal,
Right.
but in the end, they paid the price by losing that customer trust.
Ouch.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, like, what's the one thing you should be doing differently when you're sourcing notebooks?
Get those samples.
Okay.
Don't commit to a supplier until you have a sample notebook in your hand
Okay.
and really put it through its paces.
What do you mean by that?
See how the paper holds up to different pens.
Yeah.
Test the binding. I don't know, maybe toss it in your bag, see how it fares.
So like real world testing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm sold. Quality is key.
Yes,
Now let's talk about something that's really important to me, sustainability.
absolutely.
Leo Shia talks about this too.
Yeah.
And he gives this example of a customer in a store deciding between two notebooks.
Okay.
One's labeled sustainable and one isn't. You know, I know which one I would pick, but what do the numbers say?
Well, the numbers are pretty clear on this one.
Okay.
80%
Wow.
of Gen Z and millennials, so that's your younger demographic,
Right.
they actively prefer sustainable brands.
Wow.
So it's not just about doing good for the planet. It's also about attracting a huge part of the market
For sure.
who are making purchasing decisions based on their values.
Right.
And those folks can spot greenwashing a mile away.
Absolutely. So how do you make sure you're sourcing genuinely sustainable notebooks?
Look for the certifications.
Okay.
So things like FSC, the Forest Stewardship Council, Disney Pharma,
Okay.
and California Prop 65.
Okay, those are some big ones.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask those potential suppliers about these certifications.
Yeah. It shows that you're serious about sustainability,
Yeah.
and that can be a huge selling point.
Yeah, I love how you brought that back to the business side.
Yeah.
It's not just feel good, it's attracting those customers that are going to put their money where their mouth is.
Exactly.
Okay, on to something that I think we can all agree is fun. Customization.
Yes.
Who doesn't love a little personalization?
For sure.
Leo Shia says the global market for personalized stationery is actually expected to grow by 30%
Wow.
by 2025.
That's huge.
That's massive.
Yeah.
So retailers that aren't embracing customization are really missing out.
Absolutely they are.
Right.
They're leaving money on the table.
Okay, so how can a retailer tap into this trend? What should they be looking for in a supplier?
Flexibility.
Okay.
So, some suppliers might just offer a handful of standard options.
Yeah.
But you want to find one that is willing to go that extra mile.
Okay.
Maybe they offer different cover designs, binding styles, different finishes.
Right.
The key is to partner with a supplier who sees customization as an opportunity and not a burden.
So don't be afraid to get creative.
Exactly.
All right, so we've talked about quality, sustainability, and customization.
Yeah.
Now let's get to the nitty-gritty. Location, logistics, and of course, cost. A lot of retailers think that sourcing from overseas is all about getting the cheapest price.
Yeah.
But Leo Shia actually offers a more strategic perspective.
Okay.
He talks about manufacturing hubs like China and Cambodia, and he talks about not just cost savings, but also streamlined logistics,
Oh, interesting.
which this is where I think his experience as a manufacturer really shines through.
Yeah.
He talks about his own factory in Cambodia,
Oh, wow.
and he mentions trade agreements like the U.S.-Cambodia GSP. You know, I have to admit, I didn't really know much about GSP before reading his article.
So the GSP, the Generalized System of Preferences, it's this program that lets developing countries export certain goods to the U.S. duty-free.
Oh, wow.
So like in this case,
Yeah.
sourcing those notebooks from Liu Shi's factory in Cambodia could actually mean some big savings for you.
Okay.
But it's not just about the money.
Right.
Cambodia is also really well located close to those major shipping routes.
Okay.
So, you'll likely see faster delivery times as well.
So lower cost and faster shipping.
Exactly.
I think any retailer can get behind that.
For sure.
All right. So let's say you found a supplier. Great quality, sustainable, got the customization options. They're in a good location.
Yep.
Is that all it takes?
It's a great start.
Okay.
But there's one more thing that Liu Xia highlights.
Okay.
Building strong relationships.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. He tells this story about a retailer who wasn't very open with their supplier.
Mm-hmm.
And they ended up missing out on some really good opportunities.
Oh, wow.
It's interesting. Sometimes retailers hold back
Right.
thinking they're protecting their interests.
Yeah.
But that lack of communication can really backfire.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like you're holding yourself back.
Exactly.
You don't want to give away all your secrets, but
Right.
if you're not telling the supplier what you're trying to achieve, how can they help you get there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
A good supplier wants to be a partner, not just a vendor.
Okay.
They want to understand your brand, your vision, your challenges.
Yeah.
And when you've got that open dialogue,
Yeah.
you're much more likely to find those win-win solutions.
So what's the secret to building that kind of a relationship?
Well, it all starts with communication.
Okay.
Be upfront about what you expect. Like, what are your non-negotiables for quality?
Right.
Do you have sustainability goals?
Uh-huh.
What kind of customization do you want?
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to ask questions. Find out about their processes, their capabilities, their experience.
For sure. I think it's also important to remember that suppliers are often the experts.
Absolutely.
They might have ideas that you haven't even thought of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They might be able to suggest alternative materials. Or maybe they've got some cool production techniques that can save you money.
Oh, interesting.
Or maybe they've seen trends that you haven't.
Right.
It's all about tapping into their knowledge.
It's like a two-way street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay, before we move on, can we go back to those sustainability certifications for a second?
Sure.
We talked about FSC, Disney Pharma, and California Prop 65.
Yeah.
For those of us who aren't experts in certifications, can you break those down a little?
Yeah, of course.
Let's start with FSC. What does that actually mean?
So FSC stands for the Forest Stewardship Council, and it's all about responsible forest management.
Okay.
It's like a guarantee
Okay.
that the paper in those notebooks comes from a well-managed forest.
So it's not just planting trees, it's about the whole process.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's protecting biodiversity, the rights of workers, indigenous communities,
Okay.
making sure that the forests are managed sustainably.
So for retailers who are trying to attract those eco-conscious shoppers,
Yeah.
the FSC certification is a big deal.
It is. It gives customers peace of mind.
Okay, cool. What about Disney Pharma and California Prop 65?
Okay, so Disney Pharma stands for Facility and Merchandise Authorization. It's how Disney makes sure that any products with their name
Right.
are made in factories that meet their standards.
So that means fair labor practices, safe working conditions.
All of that. It's a really thorough program.
Okay, and California Prop 65.
So that's the Safe Drinking Water and Toxic Enforcement Act.
Okay.
It's a law in California that requires businesses to tell customers if their products have chemicals that could be harmful.
So transparency,
Exactly.
letting customers make informed choices.
Yeah, empowering consumers.
Okay, I feel much more informed now.
Good.
Let's shift back to customization for a minute.
Okay.
You mentioned that there are endless options.
There are so many.
Can you give us a taste?
Oh, let's see. Custom cover designs.
Okay.
Embossing, debossing, foil stamping.
Wow.
You can do different bindings, paper types, even eco-friendly finishes.
It's like a stationary lover's dream.
I know, right?
Okay, so say you're listening to this and you're thinking, I want to offer this, but where do I start? What are some things to think about when you're talking to suppliers about customization?
First, you need a supplier who loves customization,
Okay,
not one who's scared of it.
right.
They need to be flexible, willing to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
So ask about what they can do, how long it takes,
Yeah.
their minimum orders,
Okay,
and think about who you're selling to.
right.
What would they like?
It's finding that sweet spot between what you like, what your brand is, and what your customers want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a team effort.
Okay.
When you find a supplier who gets that, you've hit the jackpot.
Okay, so we've talked quality, sustainability, the details of certifications, the creativity of customization.
We have.
But let's face it, there are always challenges when you're sourcing anything, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you listening are thinking, what could go wrong?
For sure.
I know one thing that worries retailers is finding a supplier that can consistently deliver good quality at a price that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It feels like searching for a unicorn.
It can.
I mean, it really does.
It does.
But I guess, what you're saying is that those strong relationships are even more important
They are.
when you hit those bumps in the road.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
When you can really talk things out,
Uh-huh.
work through quality issues together,
Right.
make sure everyone's on the same page.
Right. What about things like lead times and minimum orders?
Yeah,
Those can be a real pain, especially for smaller retailers.
for sure.
Any advice there?
Well, first off, don't be afraid to negotiate.
Okay.
Some suppliers, they might be open to smaller minimums,
Yeah.
especially if they see that you could be a long-term partner.
Makes sense.
And with lead times,
Yeah.
it's all about communication.
Okay.
Talk to them early, especially for seasonal stuff.
So plan ahead.
Exactly.
Be upfront about what you need.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear about some retailers that are really nailing this notebook thing.
Oh, there are so many.
Yeah.
There's this independent bookstore.
Okay.
They partner with local artists
Oh, wow.
to create these limited edition notebooks
Cool.
with original artwork.
That's awesome.
It's so smart,
Yeah.
It's unique, it's personalized,
Right.
and it supports the local community.
I love that. It's a win-win for everybody.
It is.
And it shows that you don't need a massive budget to do something really cool.
Totally.
Any other examples come to mind?
Oh, yeah. There's this online retailer.
Oh.
They're all about eco-friendly stationery,
Okay.
recycled paper, plant-based inks,
Uh-huh.
compostable packaging.
Wow.
They even work with a tree planting organization.
Oh, that's awesome.
So every time you buy something,
Yeah.
you're helping to plant trees.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Shows you could be stylish and sustainable.
Yeah. Customers love that.
They do.
It's not just the product, it's the story behind it.
Exactly.
Well, I think we've given everyone a lot to think about today.
We have.
We've covered everything from quality and sustainability to the details of customization and those crucial relationships with suppliers.
Yeah.
Any last bits of wisdom before we go?
Don't be afraid to experiment.
Okay.
Try new things. Be creative.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to break the mold.
I love that.
The notebook world is always changing.
It is.
So stay curious, have fun, and be true to your vision.
Such great advice.
Thanks.
Huge thanks to you for joining me on this deep dive.
It was fun.
And to everyone listening, we hope you got some great ideas for sourcing amazing notebooks for your business.
Yeah, good luck out there.
Happy sourcing.
Yeah.